Welcome to today's deep dive, everyone. I'm your host, and as always, I'm joined by our resident expert. We've got a really fascinating one for you today.
I'm so excited to jump into this one, honestly.
Yeah, me too. So today we are digging into a narrative document titled Mirage. And our mission for this deep dive is, well, we really want to unpack these incredibly complex layers of family secrets.
Right, the stuff people hide.
Exactly. The elaborate facades we construct just to survive our day-to-day lives, and how our bizarre, just seemingly random obsessions can actually perfectly mirror our deepest, darkest hidden truths.
It's a brilliant text for that.
It really is. And I want to set the scene for you, the listener, because the setting is like a pressure cooker for this whole thing. So picture suburban, sun-bleached Perth in Australia.
Specifically, this working class area, right? The flatlands of Armadale.
Yeah, exactly, the flatlands. So just picture dry shrubbery, asbestos fences, the sun just relentlessly beating down on everything. And right in the middle of this aggressively mundane landscape, we have this mother and daughter.
Who are essentially living on different planets.
100%.
Yeah.
So we've got the mother, Mira, and the daughter, Ash. And I want to hook you with this opening line from Mira. Out of nowhere, she throws this theory across her pine-paneled kitchen bench, and she just says, men who grow beards have something to hide.
Which is just, as an analyst, my ears immediately prick up at that.
Right. Like, where does that even come from?
Well, it's a stunning psychological tell, because when someone opens a conversation by, aggressively diagnosing what other people are hiding...
It's rarely about the other person.
Exactly. That level of hypervigilance about deception is almost always a projection. Mira is fiercely holding forth about what bearded men might be concealing, simply because the entire foundation of her own existence is built on concealing things.
Oh, wow. So she's basically telling on herself.
Pretty much, yeah. She is constantly curating an image. She's terrified of what might slip through the cracks. It sets the stakes right away. This is a woman fighting a war against her own reality.
And her reality is incredibly vivid.
Yeah.
To really get what she's fighting against, we have to look at Ash, her daughter. Or, well, Ashtually, as she prefers to be called.
I love that detail.
It's so good. Ash is this tomboy who just wants to play for her local girls' football team, the Waggles. She's decorating her room with, posters of Duran Duran, George Michael, Queen Latifah.
She's just a teenager trying to figure it out.
Right, and she's a brown girl in a very white, very traditional pocket of Perth where, hardly anyone goes to university. She's just trying to find her identity while listening to Salt and Pepa.
Yeah, Ash is actively searching for herself. She's looking outward, trying on these different cultural touchstones to see what fits.
But then you look at Mira. Mira is an Anglo-Indian divorced woman who is just desperately trying to project the image of a respectable, quote-unquote, good Christian woman to her neighbors.
And it takes so much work to maintain that.
Oh, totally. There is this incredibly telling moment in the text where the local pastor, Reverend Reg, is coming over for a visit, and Mira just goes into a sheer panic.
Yes, the frantic cleaning.
Yeah. She frantically hides her green-tinged Indian Buddha statue. And she also hides her kitchen witch.
I love the kitchen witch detail. For those who might not be familiar, a kitchen witch is this little folkloric puppet or doll that you hang in a kitchen to ward off bad spirits.
So definitely not standard Protestant decor.
Not at all. It's heavily associated with pagan traditions or, old European folklore. And the fact that she has to physically sweep these items into the cupboards.
Just to hide them away.
Right. These pieces of her actual heritage and her personal eccentricity, she hides them just to present the sterilized, acceptable version of her life to the church. It just shows how exhausting her daily existence really is. She's literally scrubbing away her complexity.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because scrubbing away complexity is basically a full-time job for her.
Mm-hmm.
And when Mira isn't hiding her kitchen witch, she is completely consumed by this intense, unshakable obsession with the Pakistani Prime Minister Benazir Bhutto.
Which is such a massive contrast.
It really is. She will literally drop her knitting and start frantically shushing the whole room if Bhutto appears on the TV. She marvels at Bhutto's Harvard and Oxford education, the gorgeous silks she wears,
Right.
the fact that she donated $5 million to Kashmir.
It's staggering, from the asbestos fences of Armadale right to the geopolitical stage of Pakistan.
Exactly. And I look at this and I immediately see the mechanics of modern parasocial relationships.
No, absolutely.
Or reality TV escapism.
Yeah.
We see people attach themselves to celebrities all the time today, but this feels deeper than that. I have to wonder, how does a politician half a world away become the emotional anchor for a woman in suburban Australia. Is Mira just trying to live vicariously through this powerful woman because she feels, well, utterly powerless in her own life?
What's fascinating here is that Benazir Bhutto represents literally everything Mira lost, or, never had, or just desperately desires.
Right.
If you look at Mira's immediate environment, she is a divorced woman in the suburbs. Her ex-husband left her for another woman. She has very little social currency. She's isolated.
She's totally stuck.
Exactly. Now look at Bhutto. Bhutto is a glamorous, secular woman wielding unimaginable power on the world stage. She is navigating and commanding a political arena that is entirely dominated by men.
Yeah.
So when Mira stares at that television screen, she isn't just watching a politician, she's studying a survival strategy.
Wow, studying a survival strategy. I mean, I see the appeal of the fantasy there.
Yeah.
But I struggle to understand the cognitive dissonance that's required to maintain it.
It takes a lot of mental gymnastics.
It does, because to idolize someone that intensely, you have to actively ignore a massive amount of real-world fiction. And the source material, it doesn't shy away from Bhutto's controversies at all.
No, it lays them right out.
Yeah, it highlights the severe corruption allegations, the intense pushback from Islamists, and the massive scandals surrounding her husband Asif.
Right, who the papers notoriously dubbed Mr. 10%.
Exactly. Which is a heavy amount of political baggage for any idol to carry. Yet Mira's response to all of this documented controversy is to just wave her hand and dismiss the entire thing as misogyny.
She just refuses to engage with the reality of it.
Totally. And I just have to ask, how does someone reconcile violently despising the men in her own life while giving Bhutto a complete 100% free pass on the massive corruption tied to her husband?
It's a glaring double standard.
And furthermore, why does Mira offer this boundless grace to a foreign politician, but then she strictly judges her own daughter, Ash, just for dressing like a boy or wanting to play football?
Yeah, to understand that double standard, you really have to look at what Mira values and why. It all stems directly from Mira's profound insecurity over her own lack of what she calls pedigree.
The pedigree.
Right. We learn from the text that Mira's family history is almost entirely defined by the catastrophic failures of men. Her Anglo-Indian father essentially gambled away the family farm in the Western Australia wheat belt.
And this was a farm they had pretentiously named in Farsi, right? Like they were attempting to project this colonial aristocracy.
Exactly that. They were desperately clinging to an illusion of grandeur, but the men squandered it completely. Mira's mother, Victoria, had to step in and financially bail them out. So Mira harbors this deep-seated generational disdain for men.
Yeah, she actually uses the word men as a complete standalone sentence of condemnation.
Yes, just men, period. Add to that her own husband abandoning her. So when Mira looks at Benazir Bhutto, she sees a woman who is also surrounded by the skullduggery and corruption of men, but who survives it.
Ah, I see.
For Mira, Bhutto's ability to maintain power in a heavily patriarchal society, that just overrides any moral failings.
So it's like survival at all costs justifies the means.
In Mira's worldview, yes, absolutely. Bhutto's compromises are just necessary tactics in a rigged game. And that is the exact philosophy Mira applies to her own life. It is entirely acceptable to bend the truth, to construct a facade, or even be hypocritical as long as it ensures your survival.
And survival in Mira's household is definitely no small feat. I mean, it's not just the men who've been cruel in her life. The women in this family are ruthless to each other.
Oh, they're brutal.
Ash's older sisters, Anne and Paula, they're awful. Anne actually refers to herself as superior soy sauce, which...
Well, it's a pretty vivid picture of her ego.
Seriously. And they constantly mock Mira's daydreaming. They heavily critique her appearance, even mocking the hair on her upper lip. It is an environment completely devoid of warmth, which really makes Mira's survival tactics even more intense.
And you can only keep that up for so long.
Right. The pressure of maintaining this good Christian facade inevitably leads to a massive fracture point.
The structure she built is simply too fragile to hold the weight of her past. It has to break.
And the moment the facade shatters, it is almost suffocating to witness. It actually happens in the narrowest part of the house. Ash gets pulled into the hallway by her sister Paula.
Just out of sight.
Yeah, they're standing on this cheap plastic runner in the corridor, out of sight from the kitchen where Mira is busy cleaning up after the pastor's visit. And Paula drops two massive bombshells.
The first one is mostly logistical, but it's devastating for their stability.
Yeah, Paula reveals that the rental house they live in is actually being sold out from under them. And the only reason Mira is hosting these upcoming Saturday night church prayer meetings is not out of piety at all. It's out of sheer desperation.
She's trying to make a profit.
Exactly. She's charging the churchgoers for the venue and the supper.
So the financial anxiety underneath the religious performance is completely laid bare.
And the image we get in the text is just darkly absurd. You have these somber, deeply serious prayer meetings taking place, while a grumbling, farting dachshund sits right under the table.
It's brilliant writing. It highlights the total absurdity of the performance.
It really does. But then, the secondary reveal is the true gut punch. Paula tells Ash that before Mira ever met their dad, she had a baby boy out of wedlock. And her mother, Nana, forced her to give the baby away.
So Ash suddenly realizes she has a 30-year-old brother just walking around somewhere in the world.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Think about Mira's entire persona up to this point. The devout churchgoer, the strict mother, judging Ash for her secular music and tomboy clothes. I don't think Mira is actually devout at all. I see her operating what I would call a social ledger.
A social ledger. Walk me through that. How does the ledger work here?
Well, it's as if she carries this massive, crushing debt of shame from her past. In her mind, having this baby out of wedlock completely bankrupted her social standing.
Okay, I see where you're going.
Right. So every single day, she's desperately trying to balance that ledger by buying back her respectability through her church influence. She projects this strict morality to artificially inflate her social credit.
Oh, that's fascinating.
And at the exact same time, she is quite literally trying to buy her financial security by grifting the prayer meeting suppers. The piety, the judgment, the suppers. It is all a transactional cover-up for the shame of that out-of-wedlock birth.
That is a brilliant way to frame it, because a ledger demands constant accounting. You can never just relax. You or people you know might do something similar on a smaller scale.
Oh, for sure.
Like overcompensating in public to offset a private failure you can't forgive yourself for. But Mira has been trapped in a lifetime of guilt and silence. The term wedlock is basically an actual lock for her.
That's a great point. It locked her in.
It did. And the sheer psychological weight of carrying a phantom child, an unacknowledged past, it forces you into a state of relentless, exhausting performance. You become hostile to anyone who threatens the performance.
Including your own children.
Especially your own children.
Which brings us right back to Ash.
Yeah.
I mean, how is a teenager supposed to process that kind of immense psychological weight? Her entire understanding of her glossy, rule-obsessed mother has just evaporated in an instant.
Yeah, the cognitive load for a teenager in that moment is completely unmanageable.
She realizes the person policing her behavior is hiding a monumental transgression of her own.
And the physical space of the house, which was already super tense, suddenly becomes toxic for Ash.
So Ash does the only thing she can think of. She just leaves. In the middle of the night, she walks all the way to an Indian kiosk in the neighboring suburb of Kelmscott.
Just to get away.
Yeah. And she orders a Kathy roll, which, by the way, for the uninitiated, is this incredibly comforting, warm Indian street food. It's made of skewer-roasted meat wrapped in a paratha flatbread.
Sounds amazing.
It is. And as she eats, she strikes up a conversation with the owner, Mr. Doobie. And she just blurts out to him, "I know a lady who has a secret."
And Mr. Doobie's response is one of the most grounding, profound moments in the entire narrative.
He really is. He simply replies, "All ladies do, miss. Gentlemen as well."
It completely demystifies the horror of the secret. He removes the moral panic from it. And he basically frames secrecy as a fundamental condition of adulthood.
Yeah, everyone's got one. And that normalization triggers a crucial realization for Ash, because she suddenly recognizes the weight that she is carrying herself.
Her own secrets.
Exactly. She realizes her own attraction to girls, like her friend Bertha. She realizes that feeling like her gender expression is viewed as an errancy by her mother. That is its own kind of heavy secret.
She is building her own ledger.
Yes. So, fortified by this interaction with Mr. Doobie, she walks back home to confront Mira. She wants to piece together the truth, to pierce the facade.
But the tragedy of the generational divide here is that they completely lack a shared vocabulary to even approach the truth.
It is agonizing to watch this confrontation because it's so indirect.
Yeah.
Ash tries to speak to her mom in this layered, coded language. She casually mentioned she was talking to someone who could have been or was or will be.
She is clearly referring to the phantom brother.
Yeah.
She is offering Mira a door to walk through, a chance to confess and finally connect.
And Mira refuses to open the door. Instead of answering, Mira completely deflects. She changes the subject entirely by asking why Ash smells of mango jar.
Which is a very pungent, spicy pickled fruit condiment. It's such an intensely sensory deflection.
Right.
She uses the smell of the food to drag the conversation away from the abstract truth and just forces it back down to trivial physical complaints.
Exactly. And when Ash presses her on it, Mira drops the ultimate conversation at her. She just says, God understands everything.
It is the ultimate defense mechanism wrapped in piety. By outsourcing the understanding to a higher power, Mira absolves herself of the responsibility to explain anything to her daughter.
Because if God gets it, she doesn't have to explain it.
Exactly. If God understands everything, Mira doesn't have to speak. The vault remains sealed.
Man. So the fallout from this failed connection just pushes them even further apart. They end up having to move to an even cheaper suburb, Camillo, and Ash realizes she cannot penetrate her mother's defenses, so she finds her own escape.
She turns to the Waggles.
Yes, she leans heavily into her football team. The team is planning a major trip to Sydney, and Ash is determined to go. Mira, naturally, views this independence as a total abandonment.
Of course she does.
Mira yells that Ash should be at home studying, and Ash fiercely responds, "This is the only thing I like doing that keeps me here."
So what does this all mean? When Ash sets her sights on Sydney, is that a healthy and necessary escape from a suffocating environment? Or is she just running away? Is she effectively starting her own cycle of hiding, substituting her mother's religious facade for, like, geographical distance?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the text provides a stunning parallel that answers your question beautifully. During their argument, when Mira is accusing Ash of trying to get away, Mira exclaims in frustration, "Goodness, as if Benazir being in exile wasn't enough."
Oh my gosh, she brings it back to Bhutto.
She always brings it back to Bhutto.
Yeah.
But Ash's internal reaction is what really matters here. Ash explicitly hopes that there is something more for her in that exile.
Wow. The narrative is directly mirroring Ash's upcoming journey to Sydney with Benazir Bhutto's political exile.
That is a brilliant piece of symmetry right there.
It is. Ash is finally adopting her mother's idol, but she is applying the lesson entirely on her own terms. Mira worships the concept of the exiled, powerful woman while sitting passively in her suburban living room.
Just watching it on TV.
Right. But Ash embodies the concept. She is taking agency, stepping out of the living room and onto the field. She isn't hiding. She is stepping into her own reality.
That is, wow. As we wrap up this deep dive, the element that really lingers for me is the sheer exhaustion of it all. Maintaining the mirage of a perfect life requires a relentless, draining amount of energy.
It really does.
Frantically hiding the kitchen witch before the pastor arrives, constantly curating a persona, projecting total devoutness, while secretly running a financial hustle at the prayer meetings just to survive. It begs a question for all of you listening. As you navigate your own social circles, what pieces of your true self do you frantically sweep into the cupboards when company comes over? What is your version of the kitchen witch?
That's a great question. We spend an enormous amount of energy criticizing the rigid boundaries people set up. We see the bizarre obsessions like a mother dropping her knitting to stare at a politician on a television screen, and we immediately judge it as strange or hypocritical or cold.
Right.
But rarely do we stop to ask what terrifies a person so deeply that they felt compelled to build such an impenetrable fortress in the first place.
Yeah.
The next time you encounter someone fiercely defending a bizarre idol or a deeply rigid set of rules, ask yourself, what is their version of the baby boy they were forced to give away?
That is exactly the question we need to leave on. Thank you so much for joining us for this exploration today. Keep questioning the facades, keep looking for the truth behind the obsessions, and always keep seeking out the stories beneath the surface. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.